Alright peeps, so before we get started we need to know our idle and our max temperatures for the CPU and for the GPU. We'll be doing this by running a few programs that will put them both under load. CPU test will, or should, make CPU run at a higher than normal level as compared to gaming. And for the CPU we shall use CPU Z or Z, depending on what part of the universe you're from, and we'll just heat the CPU up, which I think we should just let this run for a minute or two. As air-cooled systems, they heat up much faster than water-cooled and also cool down to idle much quicker. Having said this, I'm sure we will see a much lower max temperature with water-cooled, and which will take longer to hit the max temperature and much slower to cool down to the 40s mark, which is somewhat the stock fan temperature currently. Yeah, and by max temperature I do mean, you know, where the temperature will no longer rise. So the water cooling test will most definitely take longer than a minute or two. And for the GPU, we'll be running Superposition Benchmark, which is currently running right now, and 3D Mark. We also have Afterburner running at the top left, so we can record the temperature also. And we do have hardware info running in the background to check the other components' temperatures. Just remember, you know, this is not to test FPS or clock speeds. All this is to compare the stock fans to the water cooling loop, which we'll be doing really soon, and under the exact same usage. Also need to point out, you know, that for the GPU I shall be using the highest settings at 1080p and whatever the default is with 3D Mark. So as this seems to have warmed up enough, the GPU is currently sitting at 70, the CPU is currently sitting at 61. I've done this test a few times and, you know, this is yeah, the usual temperatures for now, at least. So with that out the way, get this out the way, we can see that, well, this is our CPU. I mean, during gaming and that benchmark test, the CPU isn't going to be used that much. You know, our mainboard temperature, probably because the way the heatsink and the fans are set up on the graphic card is just blowing out all over the place inside the case. Which is also something else I want to look at, is one of these two M.2s is sitting right behind the heatsink of the graphic card itself, so I did want to check them out before we carried on. And also to point out the CPU and 3 chassis fans that actually came with the case, I have set them to run at maximum speed. The CPU is the stock Ryzen 7 CPU fan. And that's pretty much it for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run CPU Z. I'll let that go for a minute or so, and then I'll bring you guys back and you know, just to make a log of temperatures that that's going to generate. So I'll bring you guys back in a moment. And we're back. So we're just reaching the end of the CPU stress test. Around about 220ish will be a whole minute. But currently it's taken it up to 70. That's the max. So at least we've got this recorded, you know, for later on, to have this compared to the water cooling. Apart from that, the other components, They seem obviously unaffected. Obviously this isn't going to do anything down here. These are good to take note of as well, so we'll be checking them out. We are going to be using a monoblock rather than just the CPU waterblock. So as this is done, I can then run the 3D mark, but I doubt it's going to do differ much from the superposition. I will bring you guys back in once the temperatures are high, you know, and have slowed down or reached, you know, the max. So yeah, I'll bring you guys back really soon. Alright people, so I've got 3D Mark running right now, obviously, as you can see. I did run the test earlier as well, though it was spiking up to, the CPU was actually spiking up to 80. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this run all the way through to the very end, and then we'll just go through the temperature, max temps in hardware info. Another good thing about this test is that this one is running in DirectX 12, or I believe it is from what it's saying in the top left, and previously the superposition benchmark was running in DirectX 11. So I'm going to let this run all the way through. I'll bring you guys back and we'll check out the results on hardware info. Alright, so this is finished, the 3D Mark is finished. I mean, yeah, okay, we've got a little bit of a score, whatever. We're not really here for that, to be honest, but I'm just going to leave this there, just in case. But I don't think this is going to change with the water cooling. I mean, it's not like we're going to be overclocking just yet. So what did we hit and where? Right, the CPU did actually spike up pretty high. I did notice on Afterburner it hit the 85, so I don't know why it's marking at 75 down here unless it's using this one, this temperature up here. So these are all good numbers for us to compare to once we get the water cooling installed. Again, I just want to make note of these. And our GPU. So our GPU hit a maximum of 72 during that test. I'm just going to scroll down really slowly just so we get a decent log, so we have something to compare to later on. Again, you notice the chassis fans are all on max, everything has been left the same. So I'm just going to make sure we get everything. Alright. So for now, also drop stuff on the floor. For now, that's pretty much it. Now all I have to do is just take everything apart and install the water cooling, which sounds very simple, but it's not. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. What is up, YouTubians? It's just me here, welcoming you all to my new channel. And I thought, you know, might as well set the PC up that's going to be running things in the background. I've already had this running for a week now, just on the stock fans and everything just stock. We will be going ahead with a full closed loop. We shall be using a monoblock, not just the just the normal water cooling CPU block. We'll also be water cooling the GPU, the 1080 Ti from Asus. So we'll be doing that as well. But before we do all of that, we first need to take some bits and pieces off the board itself. And this is my first time doing something like this, like water cooling wise. So I'll just take these bits off, like so. And just to point out, we are using the Ryzen 2700X, 2 sticks of 32 gig G-Skill. Originally I did want to get the Corsair ones, but there were none in stock, so I had to settle for the RGB Christmas tree in a PC kind of thing. So we got that off, and luckily this has came off without any problems. Usually these things are like stuck to the board, at least that one isn't. We'll also be needing to remove this just to get down to the MOS thingy-doodles, MOSFETs. So we need to undo these. Actually, what I should do is take that RAM off.
A few moments later.
Alright, so we got these off and out the way. Okay, now flip this bad boy over. And undo the heatsink for the MOSFETs. We might need to remove the cover for the ports and stuff. I'm not too sure yet. We'll see.
2 hours later.
Alright. Gonna come out. Yep. Awesome. So we got this thing off. We need to cover up our MOSFETs with this thermal tape. And I forgot to bring a pair of scissors to trim them. So I'm going to be right back in a moment. And we're back. So I cut down the strips to the size and length of our MOSFETs. It doesn't say you have to cut them down the middle. I'm pretty sure it would have flexed and bent over. Well, I did it like that anyway. You got to notice that there's a sticky part to this and a non-sticky part. And this is a sticky part. So the sticky part is going to go on your MOSFETs. MOSFETs. Whatever. So just get that on in like so. Stick that down, make sure it's nice. I mean, this is going to get pinched in anyway with the crap, that's too long. It's going to get pinched in and squished in once we get the monoblock on, and this is really fiddly. Very fiddly. So I'm going to leave the other side on for now, this blue side, until I get everything sorted out. So yeah, this is going to be a streaming PC and recording at the same time, hopefully. This is going to be my gaming rig for YouTube. And leg is sick, right? I did off camera also put on, I can't see if the camera is on or not. Where is it? Alright. So I did put on these little sticky washers off camera because they were absolute fiddle. So right now what we have to do is just get our thermal paste on. Put this on the back under here. Line it all up and sandwich it on and tighten, which I'm going to probably do off camera just because it's going to be an absolute fiddle. So I'll bring you guys back really soon.
12 seconds later.
And we're back. So I got the blue tapey stuff off the thermal paste, the thermal pads. Put my thermal paste down. And now we're going to get our monoblock in place, which is a bit of a fiddle. I believe that is in. Now hopefully we don't screw things up. We keep that in place. We flip this over. And get our paddy thing. Put our paddy thing. Hopefully I'm not going out of view from the cam. That'll be kind of sucky. Hoodoo. Right. Oops. So that is definitely not mine. Let's have a look. This is going to be an absolute fiddle. I think the hardest part of this build is going to be waiting 24 hours for a leak test and getting a screw in. So I'm going to make another quick cut here and I'll bring you guys back once I've lined this all up and got it tightened in. We've got screws in place. These take small washers as well. We've tightened it on and that is what she looks like now. Nice, very nice. This is going to be our in and our out. Hopefully I haven't squished all that thermal paste around in places where it shouldn't have gone. Hopefully, we shall see. We do have this pain in the ass wire here. Anyway, so that's that part done. Now all that's left to do is avoid the warranty on a 1080 Ti. This is the OC version as well, so we should have somewhat decent performance. So I'm going to have to take all of this apart. Fun and games.
A few moments later.
I know I said that I was going to do this off camera, but I've actually decided I'm going to do this on camera and probably do a little speedy uppity thingy while I take this apart. I mean, everybody wants to see a €900 or more graphic card being taken apart, right? After 1 week of use. So, hope you enjoy this bit. this is all spread open like
6 hours later.
these wires, if you can see them. These wires are an absolute pain in the backside to get off. Anyway, we're halfway through getting the cover off. We just have to get the bag and clean up our thermal paste, which I should have the stuff over here. I mean, some people might use I don't know, like isopropyl to get all of this stuff off. Personally, I don't like to add chemicals and stuff, you know, on these things, but that's just me. So I'm going to clean all this off. Alright, so it doesn't have to be spotless, but you know, you get as much as possible off that. And also, don't forget to clean this one. I'll be doing that one later. Make sure your hands are clean with it, that you don't have any of that thermal paste on your hands, because that stuff just gets everywhere. Okay. So now we just get rid of these other screws. And you can go from what the instruction sheet tells you to do. It's probably the best idea. Follow that. Alright, so I think that's all of the screws, and that was an excessive amount of screws. Okay, so we have a little wire here on the back which lights up this logo. We are going to have to get that off, which is unfortunate really, because this back cover is pretty nice compared to EK's back cover. So this is pretty awkward. Trying to be gentle, but not too gentle. Alright, so there we go. It's unfortunate about this one. I don't think we can actually use this, but I'll double check. I'll double check to see if we can. Put this somewhere safe. Alright, so I had to make a quick cut there, just to double check to make sure that I did get all these screws off. Just to point out, anyone that is taking one of these off, it is a bit sticky, so you just have to give it a little bit of a pull, and it should come off nice and easy. Get that out the way. EK always, you know, they provide their own thermal pads. We'll be using them instead of what was pre-installed. So this isn't as sticky as the one for the MOSFETs with the CPU. We'll just try to get these on as neatly as possible. I mean, you don't have to be, you know, 100%, but yeah, you know what I mean. I think we'll just dot these all the way around. Hopefully by now I would have shown you guys the temperatures of the stock cooling, and I'm pretty sure we are going to see a major difference with temperatures. So come on. Yeah, these are fiddly, this bit is slow, so hopefully I'll speed the rest up. Alright, so we've got these ones on, fiddly. Just double checking that we have to cover these two, and obviously these over here. Alright, so again, just double checking, we are covering up these little guys at the back here and these two guys on the side. So I went ahead and I trimmed one of the thermal pads. Just get that one stuck on. While I'm doing this, I do hope that the sound is coming out decent, because every time I tried it with the headphones it sounded like I was drowning. So hopefully I get that sorted out. A little bit further back. Now these don't have to be, you know, 100% again, but as long as you're covering them up so you can have a bit of overhang, but as long as you're covering up the little guys, everything should be okay. I wonder if that's gonna... Yeah. Again, just, you know, trying to eyeball the size and just give it a bit of a trim. So far I think it looks to be the right size. Give it a little bit of a shape, square up. Like that. Right, so the next bit, we just have to peel these annoying bits off, which are really annoying. I'll get rid of them and I'll bring you guys back real soon.
2,000 years later.
Alright, so I finally found something that's more annoying than I am, and that's getting this blue backing off really annoying. Anyway, so we have our GPU cooler. Very nice. Unfortunately, this doesn't come with RGB, but there is a kit that you can get for it, which you know, turns into an RGB, another Christmas tree inside your tower. So we'll get this bad boy on in a mo. And get some of these stickers off. Right. Stickers everywhere. Okay, so right. The next thing we have to do is get some thermal paste. This all comes included. Thermal paste, everything. So you really don't have anything to worry about. And as you can see on the instructions, it tells us to do it in a star pattern. Cross, criss thing. Which we shall do. You just have to be really careful with this stuff because it's probably going to squirt out. So let's get that done. You know, I'm being really quiet right now because this has taken a lot of concentration between my eye-hand coordination and stuff. I'm trying not to make a mess everywhere. Alright, so that's that. That is that done. So the next bit is we take our GPU block, flip it over and just hold it down there and try not to move it all over the place. But before that, yet again, we've got some more thermal. Then we'll take this stuff on. I believe it's somewhere here or here. Alright, so I had to again just double check what I was doing. So the next part of this is popping this down on our card with as little movement as possible. Nice and squarish. Like so, I hope.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
One eternity later.
Alright, so some time has passed because I did a bit of a cock up. I'll tell you in a mo. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to tighten the cooler itself to the PCB. I'm just going to do these really lightly for now, just to get it all balanced, the tension all over the board so it doesn't, you know, get tightened up on one side only. Each one of these has their own little plastic washers. So I'm going to tighten, well, lightly get these guys in. We're not going to go in each and every hole yet. That's because our back plate needs the outer holes, you know, to tighten into itself. And I have to say, the people at EK Waterblocks, their site is very helpful for those, you know, like if you like me, have never done any water cooling before. They have their site has a little wizard to help you set up your own loop. You enter in your main board, CPU, graphic card if you want to be cooling that as well, and it handles all the details for you. And then obviously, you know, if you need to change some odds and ends yourself, it's very easy to do so, and the guys there are very helpful as well. You know, even before buying anything, I was in contact with them on their site. They didn't take any time at all to get back to me or anything, so really good help from them. Anyway, I'm going to get the rest of these in because it's probably going to be really slow and boring. These are real fiddly, and I hate fiddly screws. So I'll bring those back really soon. Alright, so we've got the screws in. They're not tightened yet because I just wanted to show you guys that these holes here, 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 here and here is for the back plate. When we put it on the instructions, it tells you to put screws in these holes too, but the instructions doesn't know that you've got your back plate to put in. So I'm just going to go around just lightly tightening in the screws slowly, each one, so we don't get too much stress on one side only. And back to the EK Waterblock's website, there is one thing that I think I should point out. Is when they give you the option for the fans, it automatically excluded the RGB types, so I ended up getting non-RGB fans, which isn't too much of a problem, as the tower itself, you know, the Core X71 does have enough space so that you can do a push-pull system on your radiators. I hope that will do, at least. I'll double check them in a moment. So before, what happened was, over here we have, under this plate, just up to the line here, there's one of the thermal pads, and that came sticking out quite far. So you can see this blue pad, which kind of bugged me. So I went to take off, after I had the thermal paste, you know, all in place, I took the water block off, and the thermal paste just went everywhere. So just one thing to keep in mind when you're doing this part of the thermal pads and these ones over here, to make sure that they're back enough, but obviously, you know, on the chips that they're supposed to be on, just, you know, so it looks better at the end. You don't want a bit of blue, you know, pad sticking out there. So I cleaned it up, and here we are. Back to this end. I mean, this is also good to to use the board here so you've got a flat surface. Just have this hanging off the edge so you can work pretty easily like that. And that's that for now for this. So just double check to make sure, you know, things are nicely in place. So they seem to be. And we don't want to go too tight that we end up warping the board, but that does seem alright. So now we get the rear back plate on, and with this we had to put on our own thermal pads. I did use one of the previous. These are for the main boards waterblock that I had cut, you know, in half like that. So I had some left over. I used one of these in here, you know, just to fill up the whole area rather than a small piece, which is going to cover here. So I will have to make sure that this whole area was covered properly, you know, to make good, better contact. So get our back plate on. Alright, so again I had to do another cut. This is this first recording of mine is just going to be full of cuts. The reason is I got a bit confused with, I hope it's in view, with this area, as this is on the underside, so that's what confused me. I thought that we were using the small screws all the way along, but you know, we're not. I just had to open my eyes a bit. So, to the left, and just that small screw for the underside, and one on the front, I believe, and we should be ready from this part. So I'm not going to over tighten yet. Just going to get them in place. Put the other screw from the other side. And I can call that finally done with. Okay. So I'm either going to end up with a fountain, an expensive fountain, or a decent water-cooled system. And over here we definitely need water cooling, because it's a very hot country. I mean, I do know that water cooling is also dependent on the ambient temperature. That is right, isn't it? Yeah. Voila. And that is that. So, thermal paste cock-ups aside, it seems to be sorted. Just have to give it a bit of a clean.